Hey everybody, welcome back to Breakfast with Bob from beautiful Edmonton, Canada. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Master Spas, SFuels, Go Longer, Quintana, HOKA, On Form, Smart Swim Goggles, Zoot Sports, the original triathlon brand, Premium Plus Sports, and of course our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, Mr. Brent McMahon, native Canadian, and now we get probably the richest purse in the history of racing in Canada, right? $1 million.
Yeah, it's a big prize purse for Canada, probably the biggest ever, and it's
for
great
anyone.
For a lot of races. So and to have the inaugural PTO Open here in Canada is it's an honor and a privilege.
And you had a race.
Yeah,
got a race here.
Exactly.
So you got to do one of my favorite. I've never done it, but I always love the fact that you jump off a boat, swim in, the water's freezing, bike ride, then the run on the sand ladder. You got to do Alcatraz.
Yeah, finally, after 20 years of racing and hearing all about it and watching all my friends and everybody go and do it and say how awesome it was. This year, I just decided, you know what, I got to do this. I don't know how many more years of racing I have, so I got to go down and I got to do this race. And it definitely lived up to all the hype and all the praise and stuff. And it was just such a cool, unique event. And obviously, if you follow my social media at all, everybody knew my bike didn't show up,
except for the airlines.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a little frustrating because I was looking forward to having a good go on the course, but. Plans change, and you go. I was there to enjoy the event, so that's what I did.
After 20 years, this isn't your first rodeo when stuff doesn't show up.
you make do, and you still have a good time.
You got 5th place, and you got to run an iconic event. There's nothing better than that.
Totally.
8th at 70.3 Mount Tremblant, 5th at Challenge Puerto Varas, 14th Clash Miami. During COVID, you guys were locked down. So normally, I'm assuming in the winter, you get out of Dodge and go train somewhere where it's a little warmer. Mm-hmm. You really couldn't do that.
Yeah, no, obviously, with no flights really leaving Canada, most of our international flights were grounded. And then it was just so difficult to go anywhere with testing and, quarantines and all that. So for basically the better part of a year and a half, it was at home in Canada. And so normally I'm off to Maui, at least 3 times a year, and usually for 4 to 6 weeks at a time.
Oh, so, really?
Yeah. So I spend a lot of time there, and
you're a native. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a garage there. I got bikes and parts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you do camps and stuff?
Yeah. So I've been going there for basically 13, 14 years now. And so I've got a friend I live with, and car, and it's easy to settle in and just
you get going.
Yeah, it's like a second home.
So you were really one of the first guys I heard of going to Maui to train, like before Kona and other times. When I think about training, like doing a camp in Kona, I'm like, oh my God, the roads they're too congested. There's really no trails to run. Yes, there's great ocean, but there's a good pool. But Maui's different, huh?
Yeah, I do go over and do training camps on the Kona course.
Right.
But after 3-4 days, you done everything, and you're like, okay, that's enough of the course. And a short 5-day camp on the Big Island is good, but on Maui, there's so many varieties of roads. You got hilly undulation, you got flat, you got Haleakala that you can go climb 56 miles just straight up. And then there's Makawao Forest to run in. There's a great track in town. There's a couple of great pools, open water swimming. Right. So just everything and just variety as well. And then Maui's just got a little bit more to offer city-wise as well. You can kind of find other things to do, and a couple of theaters, and so. And I live in a little kind of town in Paia, which is on the North Shore, and it's just a great little town, good food. altitude.
Very cool.
Yeah.
In the terms of traffic, it's not that bad?
Obviously since I've been going there over 15 years, it's definitely gotten worse. But for the most part, there are shoulders, and I think people are used to or getting used to cyclists, and there's a lot of other, just cycling that goes on. There's a lot of people that just bring their road bikes to Maui, and so it's actually pretty good.
So the rest of this year, I'm assuming probably U.S. Open as well.
I'm going to see how it goes. I'd like to get back to Kona one more time before I retire. So I'm headed off to Mont Tremblant after this. The full distance. So ideally, before I retire, I want to do all the Canadian Ironmans. So now that Ironman Canada is back in Penticton, I'd love to go back and do the pro race.
Oh,
there.
has it been out of Penticton that many years?
Obviously it went to Whistler.
Yes.
And then they stopped having it in Whistler.
Right.
And then COVID happened, and then
now it's back.
They brought it back to Penticton, but then it got canceled again because of COVID. So this year is the first year it's actually going to be held back in Penticton.
Yes.
But there's no pro race. So
it's just an age group race.
So it's an age group race. So I'm hoping next year Penticton has a pro field, and even if it doesn't have a pro field, maybe I'll go do it. But
why not? What the hell?
But yeah, Tremblant and Ironman Whistler and Penticton are the iconic Canadian Ironmans. So
very cool. Now so Mont Tremblant hopefully will qualify for Kona.
Yeah, it's the last qualifier for Kona. And,
okay.
And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then next year, I'll look to.
How many Konas have you done?
I guess I've done 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
And best finish?
Best finish is 9th.
That's right. I knew you were a top 10 in there.
Yeah. So, I'd like to get back there and crack another top 10. And, the 9th didn't go smoothly either. So that's the thing. You always try and okay, how can I fix that one part or whatever? And, so I'd like to just go back and try and fix a few errors and see what I can do.
So when you first got into the sport, was it from running? Was it from swimming? Where'd you come in from?
As a kid, I grew up basically doing all of them.
So you grew up sort of as a triathlete?
Yeah. I swam in a swim club, ran in a track club, and I mountain biked with friends. And so did them all. And, I did my first triathlon when I was 10 years old.
Oh my God. Part of the national series?
Yeah. Did the kids series, then did the junior national series, and then junior national team, and then national team, and then it was Olympics.
Right. How many Olympics?
I did 2 Olympics, Athens and London.
Very fun.
Yeah, so it's I've done every type of racing there is in triathlon now, and that's what's great about being still around in this era of we're now still seeing some new triathlon formats coming out, like
Super League,
and the PTO Open, this new 100K distance.
Yes.
And I had the privilege of doing one of the Super League events, the first one in Australia.
And then you were on the racetrack at Daytona?
At Daytona, doing the Clash events. So, so I had a long career and I've done lots of amazing racing, and it's just so neat to be able to look back and, I've done Xterra Worlds and, the Brazil Fast Triathlon, which was kind of the first Super League.
That Brazil Fast was similar, like swim, bike, run. And
with a little bit of the Collins Cup in it, because they actually invited national teams to come down. So they were teams of 3. So they had like a Canadian, American, a Brazil, an Argentina team. And they were 3 super sprint races back to back with 7 minutes between them, and it was live telecast in Brazil, and it was a really, really big deal for them, and they did such a great job, and so it was a really fun event and just super intense, and I won it the first year I went down there. And
how fun is that?
So it's there's new formats, but there's also just reiterations of the same thing, and it's just great to see people thinking about the sport of triathlon and how can we make it different, or how can we improve on what was done in the past.
Right. One of the things I saw this year at the Olympics that I love, the whole mixed relay concept.
Totally.
Was great television.
Yep.
And for people watching at home, so when somebody is doing a 300-yard swim and a 3-mile bike and a 1-mile run, you can relate to that.
Yeah.
Anybody can do that.
Yeah.
And then to see them, hurtling themselves off the pontoon
Yeah.
and going back, and then you're like, oh my God, this is great television.
Well, yeah, and the racing's back and forth, right? Like,
Yeah.
because as when you switch over, from a male to a female and having four different legs that with different strengths, it's not just, one or two teams that get off the front and get away. It's, then you got, crisscrossing, and so it really is entertaining.
Yeah, and the strategy. Who do I want to be? Do I want to get a lead? Do I
Yeah.
want my closer to be the guy? And what do I want to do?
Yeah.
It's pretty, I really enjoyed watching that.
Yeah.
And anytime we can get another medal opportunity
Totally.
for our sport, it's just, more television, more awareness.
Yeah, for sure.
So how tough was that for you, just emotionally, mentally, not being able to get out of the country, not to be able to race? Because your identity, 15 years, is as an athlete.
Yeah.
And I'm still out riding, running, swimming, but there's no money, there's no race number.
Yeah. No, it was challenging mentally. Especially for me. I'm 42 this year, and
Clock is ticking.
I'm in the last few years of racing,
Right.
and so I didn't really have a year and a half just to give up to training. I've done enough training.
Exactly. Yeah. You decide like, okay, I'm going to prove that much at this point. I don't care how many heart monitors I use, and how many GPSs. I'm sort of there.
Yeah. So I was definitely
relate, yeah.
chomping at the bit to get back to racing, but it was also hard to get back to racing after not being on a regular program.
Right, because you are one of those guys.
Yeah, I like my season layout, and I like to plan, and that's the thing with even when racing did start, you couldn't even plan on it.
Because you didn't really know if it was going to happen or not.
Like I was down in the U.S. I did Ironman Florida, and then I was going to do Texas 70.3. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to spend 2 weeks in Tucson, do some training, get ready, and
race gets canceled.
Yeah, the night before my flight, they cancel the race.
Yeah.
And so then I'm on the phone, okay, I got to change my ticket, and then do I stay longer? Are they going to, is there another race I can do, or how do I fly home?
Yeah.
And then in order to get home, I have to test. So I can't just change the ticket, because then I got to make sure I'm going to test negative, and
God.
and it was just so you're just, even when you were able to race, it was a roller coaster.
It was.
But again,
tough.
every athlete was dealing with that, and
Yep.
you kind of learn over the years that there's only so much you can control, and then you just have to let things happen and kind of move along with it.
As an athlete who knows that, okay, as a professional, I'm 42, so the clock is ticking. You have an appreciation anyways of being able to go to the start line and race as a professional athlete. Mm-hmm. But when you lose a year and a half or 2 years, that has to be intensified, where you go, I really do appreciate the fact that I can go somewhere and do a race and still be a professional. Did you find yourself appreciating the racing more once you're able to do it again?
Yeah, you definitely, after, it was taken away from you, and it's the same when you're injured, when you're on the sidelines for, 6 months or something. I've had those in my career where I've been out for, before the London Olympics, I was out for a year. And you spend a lot of time thinking about, okay, like, how badly do I want this? Am I going to be able to come back? And then as you get towards, getting back and getting to that first race, you really start to realize, okay, like, you get excited, but then you also get that memory of, okay, this is why I do it. And, it was worth the wait, or it was worth the rehab, or, it was worth, doing those long training hours at home instead of, on Maui.
Right.
Because it's such a privilege to be able to be an athlete and call that your job. And, and it's just been an amazing, opportunity to have a career in it. And, and so now I'm kind of like, okay, dude, how much longer do I want to do it? The body's still in good form.
Yeah.
I definitely have to take a little bit more rest. I got to do a little bit more treatment.
Yeah, a little more flexibility, a little more weight training, yes.
But it's still, when I want to push, it's still there.
Yeah.
And so even this year, I went through waves of motivation and, and stuff. But once you kind of get going and you get sort of on top of the water, you're like, okay, yeah, this is what I like to do and where I want to be. And so when you go to the Olympics 2004, how'd you do there? That was one of those ones where, you train your brains out, and sometimes you train too hard, and I ended up with a bit of an injury going in. And So, so I ended up, I think, 39th or something. And
so then it becomes, okay, now I'm going Beijing. Now let's focus on that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen.
No.
Doesn't happen. Was there a thought at that point, okay, you know what, do I really want to stick around for 4 more years and go to London, or
Totally.
is it time to start going longer, or were you mixing longer in?
Well, yeah, between 2004 and 2008, I did some Xterra racing.
Right.
So I did the U.S. Pro Series, and I podiumed at the World Championships a couple times. So I knew I was good at kind of some of the other racing that was out there.
Yeah.
So after Beijing, then I decided, okay, I wasn't selected. Let's go and do some of the non-drafting races. And so I did the New York Tri and Chicago.
When we had that series, we had the Toyota Cup.
Exactly.
With Minneapolis and LA.
Yeah.
And that was such a great transitionary series for the Olympic athlete.
Yeah.
Because now you could do Olympic non-draft.
Yep.
And then if you wanted to move on to 70.3, you could, or you didn't have to because the money was good.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's too bad that, those events still aren't around. But there's kind of like LA tries, starting to come back.
And New York is still around.
New
Chicago's
York,
still around.
Alcatraz, So it'd be great to see them kind of bolster up again, because again, the 70.3 is so getting so competitive and so strong right now that, for those Olympic guys to have kind of a step in,
just
first.
something in between.
Yeah. And, so for me, after the Beijing, not being selected, and then I went and did some 70.3s as well. And, in 2009, I won my first 70.3, which was in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And then again, so at that point I was like, okay, do I do this 70.3 thing now, or do I go back and look at London?
London's going to be a great Olympics.
And so I decided that, I wasn't done with my Olympic career, and I really wanted to go to an Olympics and be fit and strong and healthy.
Right.
And so, my family and, my partner Carolyn and, my staff that takes care of my body, we all agreed, okay, if we're going to do this, let's go all in and let's put it on the line for London. And so that's what I did. And then when you do that, when you go, okay, that's the finish line.
Right.
Then it's like the day after the London Olympics, I was like, all right, that's over. I'm done. Let's go 70.3.
And was it 70.3 for a number of years before making the step to Ironman?
Yeah. So basically, I did a full year of 70.3 in 2013.
Yep.
And then in 2014, that's when I decided, okay, I've done a number of 70.3s. I've got the training. Yeah. And so then in the fall, I went to. Actually, I didn't intend to go to Ironman Arizona. I actually intended to go to Lake Tahoe. And so that was like I did a big build and, trying to get ready for Tahoe. And we went up there, and that was the year that there was a huge forest fires. Yeah,
that's right. They had
we were sitting in the water warming up, and
you could see the fire.
The smoke was everywhere. And in the days leading up, the fire was building and stuff. But depending on the wind, which way it blew, and so we got out in our wetsuits warming up, and then they're like, unfortunately, we're gonna have to cancel the whole event. And that was interesting because again, that's you build yourself up and you get excited. It's my first Ironman, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, and you haven't started, so you're kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. And then a fellow Canadian, Trevor Wertel, and I just went back to where I was staying, and kind of an hour later, we're kind of like,
we're pretty fit.
I feel pretty depressed right now, and it was like, yeah, I was actually really looking forward to doing this race,
you did all the prep.
and now we don't, we're supposed to be racing for 8 hours right now, and now we don't get to. And so, it was one of those things. And again, you just chalk it up to that's life, and you move on.
There's always another race.
And, and then as it turns out for me, I went on to go and do Arizona. And that was my first Ironman, and I broke 8 hours.
I was going to say, wasn't it that was that the American record or the?
It was the course record.
The course record,
and it was the fastest first Ironman.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
I knew you were.
And it was one of those things. Had I raced Tahoe,
you wouldn't have been there.
No, it would have been a slow because it had 5,000 feet of elevation. It was at altitude, and so I would have done an Ironman, and it would have been whatever. But I ended up going to Arizona and setting a world record and that kind of thing, right? And so then my career just kind of really,
I guess I'm an Ironman guy.
Yeah, it was like, okay, I'm good at this thing, and that's how it goes. And and so again, that's a perfect example of stuff in life you can't control, and so you move on and you make the next goal. And so for me, it was like, okay, so Arizona it is, and well, we got an extra 4 weeks of training to do.
Let's do it.
And so I was able to get fitter and faster, and there you go.
I love it. So for this race, this is almost like an extended ITU course,
yeah,
right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Like with a 3-loop swim and loops on the bike and potholes and, and punchy little climbs, 3 of them on each lip, and then the run. So what are you looking at for this race?
Yeah, it's going to be... It's hard to tell, actually.
Right, and then the 20-meter draft rule too. Yeah. So if you get away, people can't just come right back to you because they got to leave you 20 meters.
Yeah, and if there's 3 or 4 guys, and and you're coming into a corner or a hill, or so it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out.
Right.
3 laps, tight laps on the swim.
Yeah.
That first, again, I've raced here in Edmonton many times as a
WTS,
World Cup and the World Championships and National Championships. I know what that first turn is like. It's a nightmare. And
it's going to be basically a no autopsy, no foul coming around that first turn.
Pretty much. So it'll be fun. It's going to be definitely reminiscent of the old days. Back in the old days, there used to be 70 of us starting on that line. So at least there's only 40 of us on Sunday, but it's still going to be fun, and I think it'll shake out over the swim.
I think it will too.
The first lap is going to be
non-wetsuit, right?
Yeah, so non-wetsuit. It's going to be bunched up, but I think once you dive back in for that second loop, then it'll stretch out, and then that third loop, I think you're really going to see things blow apart. But then the bike course, there's a lot of corners. There's climbing. There's not a lot of just straight time trial riding.
No, it's a bike handler's course.
Yeah.
You got to know what you're doing.
So, and again, with the 20-meter rule, which, again, it's going to be hard to try and keep 20 meters as you're going in and out of corners and stuff. And then there's going to be motorbikes. And so it's going to be an interesting dynamic on that bike. There's going to be guys moving forward and backwards, I think. And then the run is, it's just simple. It's like a track run.
Right.
It's, basically 2.5K out, 2.5K back. Do that 4 times.
What I love is I think there's going to be a lot of people taking chances because with the money going as deep as you're guaranteed $2,000 if you finish. Yeah. Right. Which for a lot of races, that's finishing top 3. That's podium. Yeah. The $2,000 you get a podium. So when you're talking, you're in 9th place, and you know that you're guaranteed 18K, but there's 30K at 6th. Yeah. You might make a move.
Yeah, totally. And you're going to have guys that are coming off races, and they're maybe not so sure on their run legs, and so they're just going to put it all in on the bike, and and see if they get a gap of a minute or 2. Well, then they might hold on and come in 5th. But if they try and race their normal race and they don't have the run legs, well, they might come 10th.
It's so fun.
So it's going to be an exciting race because I think it's not going to play out like anybody thinks.
No, it's going to be fair. And then you've got the ITU guys, you got 70.3 guys, and you've got Kona guys.
Yeah, right? Totally. You got everything in between too.
Yes,
and then people fresh, people coming off
of other races.
So fun. It's going to be super cool.
Good luck on Sunday, man. It's always great to reconnect with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Brent McMahon has been our guest. This is Breakfast with Bob from beautiful Edmonton. Hold on. We will be right